Sound and Light, 6th grade science.
That's enough of that. We are taking a look today at the eye and understanding in our Sound and Light unit how we see. In investigating how we see, we need to learn about a lot of different parts of the eye and a lot of the different processes in order to better understand how light and the anatomy of our eye work together. So we see by a series of steps involving not only the eye but also the brain. Without the brain, we cannot interpret the images that our eyes are receiving. So what is the number one most important thing we need in order to see? Well, we do need a brain, and yeah, obviously we do need the eye, but you know what? The number one most important thing is light. If we are in a completely dark room, no light whatsoever, we can't see. No matter how effective and no matter how awesome our brain and our eye is. Without light, there would be no sight. So going over some of the parts of the eye we're going to learn about the iris, the pupil, the cornea, the lens, the retina, and the optic nerve. First of all, let's talk about the cornea. The cornea is the transparent front surface of the eye. It protects the inside of the eye, and it kind of acts like the windshield. You can imagine an eyelid, when every time you blink, as a windshield wiper, going over that and cleaning it off. The cornea is a protective covering that ensures nothing goes into the eye. It's also transparent that allows light to pass through. The iris is a colored muscular structure that contracts in its bands to control the amount of light that enters the eye. It's often the one that is very different colors depending on the person, and it surrounds what's called the pupil. The pupil is just simply a hole. It's nothing. There's nothing there. And it lets light in. A lot of people believe that that is just a black disc, but it's not. The reason why it's black is because there's no light inside your eye. So that is the hole that allows light to go in. And as you can see in this picture, the iris will expand and contract to allow that hole to be bigger or smaller. You'll also note that in this image, you see the white part of the eye called the sclera. And that sclera is very, very tough. It is there to protect and to keep shape and structure of the eye. The lens is put in behind your eye, and the muscles, called the ciliary muscles, expand and contract to help shape that lens and basically kind of do minuscule little corrections to perfect that image by refracting light. The shape of that lens is convex. The retina is on the back of the eye after the image goes through the pupil, goes past and through the lens. It goes through a clear gel called the vitreous humor and lands on the retina. The retina is a layer of cells along the inside lining of the eye. It contains two very specific kinds of cells that are important to our discussion. The first one is called a rod cell. That rod cell detects dim or bright light. It basically handles the contrast and the grayscale. If you're imagining you're looking at a TV, it kind of handles the brightness of that. The cone cells see color, and they see color in three different bands we're going to talk about here in a minute. So rod cells, ironically, look like rods. I'm pointing at them now. And cone cells look like little party hats, hence the cone. All right, here we go. We got an overall picture of the eye. Zoom in on the retina. You see you've got a cone cell that is dedicated to the color red, a dedicated cone cell for green, and a dedicated cone cell for blue. The optic nerve is the nerve that's attached to the back of the eye. It's often like a wire or a signal that connects the eye to the brain. And it sends that electrical impulse to the brain, transmitting the image. The brain then turns that image right side up and recognizes that image. Now, all of us have what's called a blind spot. There is a spot in our eye, and it is right here where that optic nerve attaches to your eye, where there are no rod or cone cells. This causes us to have one spot in each of our eye where we cannot take in information or we can't see. Now, if your eye were misshapen in some way, or if your lens could not correctly focus that image, you would need corrected vision, and you would basically use a variety of concave and convex lenses, and you would use those to help perfect your vision. Now, taking a look at where all these different parts are, all right, we're not going to learn every one of these that are on the screen right now, but the key ones that we talked about today will help us understand the parts of the eye and how the eye works. Remember, our goal is we want to understand how we see an object.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill Nye the Science Guy.
This is the eyeball demonstrator of science. And here is the eyeball. That's right. Your eye is shaped like a ball. And inside is the lens. The lens is the clear part that light goes through. And in your eye, the lens sits way up near the front, like this. Now, before light gets into your lens, we have to control the amount of light that comes into our eye. We don't want to have too much or too little. And we do that with something called the iris. The iris changes size, like this. By the way, the iris is the part of your eye that has color. Like if someone says to you, you have blue eyes, or brown eyes, or green eyes. That's the iris, this part right here. Now let's say we're looking at something. Maybe a kid on a stick out here. All right, the light from the kid on a stick goes through our iris, through the lens, to the back of our eye. And look, the image of the kid on the stick is upside down. Isn't that wild? The kid on the stick is upside down.
We heard you, Bill.
So our brains take the upside down images from both our eyes, turn them right side up, mix them together, and make sense out of what we see.
They're tough. They're gritty. They have potholes. The Streets of New York, with your host, William Nye.
Welcome to the streets of New York. Well, it's not really the streets of New York. It's an optical illusion. I mean, a truck is real, but all those buildings are flat. They're almost on one piece of material. See, it's your eyes playing tricks on you. It's not just your eyes, it's your brain. You know, they're connected. See? It's an illusion.
Next week, the streets of Plains, Montana. Bill Nye the Science Guy.